All right, welcome back to another special impromptu episode of The High Ground. Today, something a little special, coming on the tail end of the Shelbyville FanCon event. Two gentlemen here that, what can I say, really just set the stage and set the bar for one of the most memorable and most iconic franchises in really just pop culture history. And they've really joined us today and just talk for a few minutes about their careers, wise, just really think anything in general. So, gentlemen, first of all, welcome. Reed, this is Matt, and please, just give us a little taste of. I know we were talking a lot last night of, especially at the beginning, of how everything got kicked off and what got you started in the whole franchise and how it took off. Would you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, the grow when we were younger, we kind of collected comics and were martial artists, but also into comic books, anime, and things like that. And my brother, you know, was physical art, drew physically.
Sure.
Because there was no computer yet. So one of his friends was John Tobias. So I
Okay.
recall when we were younger, John, my brother Carlos, and a friend who later on helped ink, along with Carlos and John, the first MK comic book.
Yeah.
So his name was Andrew Kadoka. So I remember them like drawing at my mom's kitchen table or doing stuff like that. Just hanging out. And we as a group, we did martial arts, but we also played D&D together and things
Oh,
like
nice.
that. So basically, everyone from Mortal Kombat 1, except for Liz, the original Sonya,
Yeah.
knew each other way back in the day and played D&D and went to Comic Cons together or went to arcades together.
You're kidding.
So we were all friends before that. So we just got off of doing stunts for a movie called, maybe you heard of it, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Secret of
I heard of it once or twice.
Yeah. So we were stuntmen for that movie.
Oh,
Some
no
of us, the shorter ones were turtles, and the taller ones were foot soldiers. And my brother did some work for Casey Jones in Number 3.
Yeah.
So we that was our path. But John was like, when they were younger, John really wanted to be like a movie director.
Mm-hmm.
And then so one day he called me up and he's like, "Hey, remember when I wanted to be a movie director? Film with his dad's camera.
Yeah.
Movies, make kung fu movies, but guerrilla kung fu movies. You got to remember, this is like the late '80s, so it's a little rough back then. It's a different time, yeah." So I laughed and I was like, "Yeah, I remember that." And he was like, "I got an idea. I want to make a fighting game, but I want the guys to be real, and I want them to actually know how to fight."
You want to come across like cartoonish or anything.
Yeah, because
I wanted the opposite of what Street Fighter was. That was
Yeah.
cell drawn, or at the time it was digital. They had T-Paint and everything, and then John had this vision of putting us in a game, and along with my brother and everybody else, and do a digitization of actual people in the
Right.
game. As opposed to 3D wasn't around yet. So.
Was that the first time really that kind of technique kind of happened, where they made it look as real as possible, given the technology they had?
Well, there was a Pit Fighter.
Yeah,
there's other game, Pit Fighter,
but it was just muddy and just you couldn't tell it was. You could tell it was people, but it was just not well lit. They did,
It could have been done a lot better.
Yeah, it could have been 100 times better, but you had people who were passionate that wanted, when we were all collaborating and doing the game, you wanted passionate people, so that way your actual end product looks great.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it was more want than that, because it could have turned out for Pit Fighter if it was a company. If the concept, I believe that the concept came from the company,
right,
that it would have turned out like Pit Fighter. But because the concept came from a group of friends trying to head, like, because really we didn't have a budget.
Sure.
Like originally, originally the company passed on. We put a package together, presented it to Midway Games. Midway sent their representative Ed Boone to meet with us to hear about the concept, and in the end, he didn't support the idea of what is known as Mortal Kombat
Right.
because we didn't really have a name. But he didn't support it. He wanted to do a regular beat 'em up game with Jean-Claude Van Damme because he could make money with that.
Well, yeah, of course.
And with us, we're nobody's really, we're stunt guys, but nobody knows us. And to give us like, you know, that opportunity, he just didn't feel like it would be in the best company's interest.
Sure.
So when that fell through, we got to do our idea, but again, he didn't trust us enough. We had to film with John Tobias' father's camera because Ed didn't trust us with the company camera because we might break it because we're nobodies, And so basically, John and I worked on the game for 10 hours a day for like 10 days straight, trying to figure things out of how to make the game. So a lot of people think that, oh, it's going to be digitized. We didn't know that, how to do that yet. That wasn't even created by the company yet, how to do that. So really, a lot of things were because more of like the want of it.
Right.
How do we do it correctly?
Yeah.
How do we do it? When an example is we didn't have a lighting kit. So we had overhead lights. And so when we filmed for the day, we were like, oh, that lighting sucks. What are we going to do for lights? So John and I stole desk lamps and lit the studio with desk lamps, because we wanted to get that. And we started messing around with the lighting and trying to figure stuff out. So everything was very, very organic and very like, oh, this is the problem. How do we solve it without money? Because nobody has any money.
Well, that's when the fun comes out, and that's when you get so the creativity just skyrockets.
Right. It was really.
Ultimately, it was like 3-point lighting, and then John knew how to, to pull the colors out with colorization back then. With you had deluxe paint. We didn't have Photoshop yet because ILM was still working on it, and
Sure.
Adobe worked with them, and more or less, we don't have access. That's like early 91, 92, or I should say John didn't have access. And in reality, not until I actually joined the Midway team, I said, we have to start using Photoshop to an extent. And the other artists knew about it, but we all pushed and rallied to get, better software.
Of course.
So,
Yeah. So it was like there was a problem and we figure out how to solve it like exactly there. Exactly on the fly, exactly there. Changing what we're doing, adapting, changing things. When the first day of filming, John, there was no shot sheet. So there's no moves. John put me in front of the camera and said, do something cool. And so I just started doing, I do Chinese martial arts, so I just started doing different combinations of kung fu moves because I thought like it would be cool to have like controlled combinations and then automatic combinations.
You came up with that.
Yes.
That's I would have never even thought of that. Like
Yeah.
just the different like 4-button combination, whatever it is, and something crazy that.
Yeah, we thought. Well, too, I thought like, oh, when we're fighting, when you hit the button, if you're holding up the first button, it would make more power. So that's the whole thing of like making a jab and then having the reaction, and then you hold the whatever button and you throw the jab and you have a big reaction, and then you maybe hold 2 buttons because there's 5 buttons,
Yeah.
and each time the charge is more to do more damage. You know what I mean? And at that point, too, even the game, after John heard me say that, he's like, oh, then I'll have bruises. So for the first game, we wanted physical damage to be on your costume rips, or you got bruises on your face.
Bleeding a little bit.
Yeah, or bleeding a little bit during the combat. So we already started like thinking of things like that. And then we got to the point where John and I were looking at moves and doing that moves, and we're looking at the tape, and I'm doing like, John was like, okay, what happens if you get hit really hard but you don't fall down? Because we already filmed that and that part, but here's the new thing. Like, your power bar is all the way down and you're just, what would you do? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to act like this. I'm going like this. And so we're recording, we're taking a look at it, and John looks at me, he's like, it can't end like this. And then I was just like, yeah, it can't end like this. We need a death move. And he was just like, yeah, we got to finish some way. We have a finishing move. We need to figure out a way to finish him. And then that we created the first fatality with just John and I in the room.
I feel like that is such taken for granted nowadays. I mean, it's. I mean, you see it in countless other games, but literally all coming back to that of you just. I mean, between whether it be the button combinations, that, and just, oh, it'd be cool if we did this. and putting it all together, and then fast forward to today where okay, that's just like an industry standard. So at least they'll start with something like that, and you'll see some kind of resonance of whether it be button combinations or oh, we want more realism here, or oh, if you do X, Y, and Z, then this special thing will happen. And
Yeah.
it's just so much out there now, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
all coming from
Yeah, just from just that looking at it and be like, it can't end this way, or just things like that. We were just, how do we do that, or how do we, you know, keep it real, but make sure that every character, too, there was no. When you see the game, you see Raiden. That is my brother's personality. Is Raiden. So Raiden is my brother. If you guys hang out with him, you see how stoked he is or stuff like that. He's been like that his whole freaking life since he was one. I was there. When you hang out with Rich, Kano,
Rich Division. Yeah.
You're gonna be like, it's Kano. He has a
Kano
personality.
It's the guy.
It is the guy because it was easier for us to act like us making the game. That because John didn't have like, oh, this is personality. John didn't have any of that.
Right.
The characters in the game were creating those personalities.
Yeah.
So when you hang out with Liz, being Sonya, you will be like, when you see her and talk to her, you're going to be like, she's got Sonya's personality.
It's not
she's Liz. Sonya has Liz's personality.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? And you hang out with Liu Kang, Ho-Sung, that character has it. So it's cool for us to see other people acting like us because they're really acting like us. When you see Scorpion, he is really acting like me. And you see Sub-Zero, it's a different part of me, but he's still acting like me. Johnny Cage is also, if you hang out with me, you'll know, like, holy cow, you're Johnny Cage. No, Johnny Cage is me, Daniel Pesina, because that's part of my personality, and that's what came into the game.
That's got to be insane, especially, I mean, this many years removed, at least from the original ones, where, I mean, you generally put your heart and soul into it, and it's like literally a giant piece of yourself that's, I mean, now immortal because it's like, okay, like you said, the character, it's not you influence the character, it's you as a person, and that's there, it's solidified, it's there forever, and that's insanely just. That's next. Some people. Oh, I'm going to write a book to. Oh, my name will be out there forever. No, literally, your personality, your the moves. That's incredible. It's like next level of. Hey, I left my mark.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was creative freedom, and I think that's what made the game. Two things. It made the game relevant for 30 years to an extent, and two, you had a group of friends that were passionate about executing an idea and doing the best that they could to make a great product. And not saying that we didn't do we didn't have focus groups back then.
Sure.
So we couldn't go out there and go, hey, do you like this game or not? We just thought, oh, this is a martial arts game. We all love like Run Run Shaw, Golden Harvest, all those movies, Jackie Chan, everybody. James Pax has Lightning in Big Trouble. These are the elements that we drew from the subculture, which is a culture now. And then we put it into the game, and we wanted the game to be a kung fu movie type game, And granted, Tobias, had the characters more or less like, hey, Kano's going to be leader of Black Dragon, blah, blah, blah. I would like, let's talk to Rich and see if this is a good fit for him. And Rich is a smart ass. And like Daniel was saying, just these are points that I want to reiterate, that it's the fact that, there was no more or less like, this is how a character sheet is. Like, when we did Kratos for, I think it's like MK9, they had a character sheet and they said, hey, you gotta follow all these rules. And obviously it's an IP. You don't want to offend anybody, and you're like, yeah, we'll follow this. We're gonna act like this, and if something looked wrong, the team at Sony was gracious enough to go, hey, can you change this and this and that? They was great to work with, so we would change those things. But once again, for 1 and 2, there was more creative freedom, and we felt passionate about it, and it was great that certain people trusted us into injecting our actual character into those characters, and now they're molded and they are who they are now because of us, which is
even the lore
a blessing.
Even the lore was based on us goofing around. Like Mortal Kombat a lot of the Mortal Kombat lore is based on us. Like with the first game, there was over 1,200 video hours recorded.
Oh wow!
For the first game, compared to later on number 3, I think they said there was like 20 or 30 hours.
Not even comparable. Not
Yeah,
even remotely.
it's nothing. It's basically really nothing compared to how it was created. But two, we have like all private jokes in there. Originally Sub Zero and Scorpion are brothers.
Right.
That's based on my brother and I. And there's a private joke between Tobias and us too. But whenever I see them and you hear that lore, I start laughing because
that's you.
That is us.
Yeah.
That lore is based on
rival.
the Pesina brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not saying we're rival now, but growing up, you got
it's
siblings.
Natural.
It's natural.
Yeah, and he knew us back when we were like that. You know what I mean?
And you can just directly see it, like, yep, that is
yeah,
those guys.
Yeah, and we would make like all the fatalities are based on their characters. So when I help create the fatalities, it's based not just based on what's bloody. No, it has to do like when Raiden does the lightning.
Right.
There's certain things that are because it's based on Carlos's personality, or things like that. So everybody's personality is really what made the fatality.
Well, I was going to ask you too, because you said it's starts with the martial arts and the fighting aspect of it. But like, at what point did you guys start bringing in some of those like the extras, whether it be the lightning, being able to attack with lightning, the ice, all those kind of extra elements to where it's taking a step beyond martial arts. Now it's getting into the mythos of those extra powers, being able to use those in the fighting style. I guess what made you think of like, oh, let's add this. This would be a good. It's good balance with the martial arts.
Well, originally after no character was filmed to its completion.
Mm-hmm.
So we had spent about 6 weeks on the Michael Grin character or the Johnny Cage character. I know everybody's going to say like it's Van Damme, but no, that's a company. I was there in the creation, and they never meant, and I was there to pitch the game, and we never mentioned Van Damme.
Right.
At the very end, when we were almost done filming, we did one move as a parody of Van Damme, which I didn't want to do, but I got bribed with pizza that I did, the split. So there was never a mention of Van Damme when we were creating the Johnny Cage character. We were playing it, we were creating on Michael Grimm, who was Daniel Rad from Iron Fist.
Oh, wow.
And everybody's, he looks like Van Damme. No, everybody in the 90s, dressed like that. Oh, sorry. Dressed like that in biker shorts. You know what I mean? Biker shorts, and that's just the standard, how people dress.
This is the deluxe scene.
Yes. Finish him.
Yes. Sorry, please take mine.
No.
Daniel was just for everyone out there. Daniel was.
No, I got another one.
He was doing his
split.
His martial arts. It's called heavyweight vest. Heavyweight vest. Sinking qigong martial arts.
Catch everybody by surprise.
Yeah. So.
But it was all planned because Daniel's like, I gotta think heavy.
Keep everybody on their toes.
Yeah. So I know like a lot of the lore is like, we modeled. I think like there's like John said like, I made this for Kathy Long, famous kickboxer. But when we were creating Sonya Blade, she was never ever mentioned to Liz to create that because Liz was just doing Liz,
just being her,
just doing her. So he might have thought that while he's drawing her, but that was never translated. We never mentioned any of that. So it's
but it's one of those things
it's like people are making connections on their own.
Yeah, so it's
when you're creating something, you have like microseconds in your head, and you're having things flash and it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Sure.
Whether whether we're all standing here, everything's firing off right now in milliseconds, and you're just constantly thinking, and it's difficult to translate that. And I'm sure. Possibly he remembered like, when I was drawing this is who I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes those things, we take for granted. We're never translating that to somebody else.
Sure.
And they're creating it.
Yeah.
But that was great. Once again, we had creative freedom, and it was it was a great time. We had friends together, and we're blessed that it happened to last longer than 30 years. You know,
Yeah.
I
so
feel like that make it feel a lot more personal too.
Yeah.
Like it's, I mean,
absolutely.
like as, I mean, I know you said you did work in the later ones as well, but
Yeah.
especially you're able to put so much of yourself into those early ones.
Yeah,
Those
absolutely. And
resonate the most.
I keep iterating this. It's one of those things that like I stayed on. I actually joined Midway after MK2, but it's one of those things that I was passionate about that project because my brother, myself, and a bunch of other group of friends started it. And at some point you're thinking, I can't let the community down. I can't let the new people who are being introduced, and then the older guys like us who love the game and introduced our kids to it.
Hmm.
You don't want to let them down. And at a certain point, I'm in the shower thinking, how am I going to change this move? Getting ready to go into the motion capture studio.
Sure.
And that's the passion you want. That's the passion that my brother and John had in the beginning, and the rest of the people who collaborated. And it's a testament of our hard work, our character, that it's lasted this long. And it's all of us, the friendship that we've had together. So
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. And
that's
back to
huge.
the projectile stuff, like we always thought there would be energy bursts. So,
Okay.
um, we really started experimenting with that with Kano when
Hmm.
Kano come in with his knives.
Right.
So I have about 15 minutes of Kano trying to use his knives in different ways to try to create to eventually give everybody a weapon. So the idea of not only an energy bolt, but maybe transferring to like, oh, this guy's going to pull out like a sword or anything
Right.
that is in that idea is from Mortal Kombat, the first Mortal Kombat. You know, is we already started experimenting that. That didn't work out just because we were looking at it. It was just we knew we had 8 months to do this, and it was just going to take too long to figure that out to fit that in
Fair.
8 months. But we tried to do it. You know, we really tried to do that stuff.
Well, and I feel like it all came out. I mean, like it balanced out well to where it's not too much, but it's just enough to make. Oh, here's like if whether it be the right button combination or something small fitting with the character's personality, whether it be Scorpion with his spear or just these little things where it's not over. Oh, that's not the whole game, but it's a little nice little extra that adds to the personality and just the just the nuance of it all.
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
And it was just yeah. As long as we were really focused on keeping it like a martial art game.
Yeah.
And John's vision allowed, especially myself because I'm a little bold, allowed me to keep it like that because early on, somebody wanted Scorpion to use a lasso, to tie the guy up and walk up and get a free hit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that's not really a martial art move. That's like more like a Wonder Woman, and she's wonderful, but
Right.
she belongs in her own game.
Yeah.
And moves like that are not really martial art moves. So I was just like, John, we can't really have that. And then, John was, well, what do you suggest? And I was like, well, there's a weapon that I used to compete with, rope dart. It's like an ancient weapon. It's used to tangle the opponent's weapon up, and then the rest of the guys murder him because your weapon is basically tangled up by that.
Oh yeah.
I described it to John, and John immediately like this was going to be this guy's first special move in the game because he wanted to put a special move in the game. And John was like, "You're right. This is not martial arts. Let's not put it in the game. Let's use the rope dart." And then when I was using it, Rich DeVizio was watching it, and and it's a weapon that you throw out. It's on a rope. It's basically a spearhead.
Yeah.
On a rope, and that's how he described it. And then and again, it's like close to, I think it's close to 2,600 years old. So it's freaking old, but it's very rare because in the U.S. there wasn't that many people doing it.
Right.
So and I did it, and as I was doing it, Rich was like, "Get over here." and it was really funny. And the guy who wanted the lasso started just walking around the whole time, like, get over here, because he thought it was really, really funny. You know what I mean? Later on, he did the voice for "Get Over Here," but that concept, it comes from Kano, and it's in Kano's voice. So every time I hear that "Get Over Here," I think of that whole story and how hilarious it was, but also how we really wanted to keep it as a martial arts fighting game.
As pure as almost as possible.
Yeah. Like again, later on, number 2, somebody wanted to pull out a gun, and I was like, no, you can't have a guy pull out a gun because then everybody has to have a gun, and now it's a shooting game. It's not a martial art game.
Yeah.
And they were just like, okay. And John was like, so okay. He's like, you're right. We can't have guns. Oh no, how about a bomb? No, we can't have a bomb.
You're going in the wrong direction here.
Because this person really wanted it to be more like a superhero game. But that's not a martial art game. Like, I love Superman, but he fights like a goon. He's Superman. He doesn't need technique.
No.
You know what I mean? When I see him punch, I'm like, oh my God, it's horrible.
So they're just calling it out bad, wrong.
But he's Superman, so it really doesn't count because he can blow your head off with a punch. You know what I mean? So that's the type, that they need their own game.
Oh yeah.
So
it's good still.
It's cool. Because personally, I like first-person shooters.
Sure.
Personally, I don't play fighting games because they never fight like I do, and I would never lose in a real fight. But anyway,
it leaves you disappointed. No.
So that's you wanted to keep the martial arts in it.
Yeah, and the last thing I'd like to iterate is that we just want to thank the community, guys like such as yourself. Thanks for for propagating and keeping the franchise alive and coming out to see us, and we love everybody, and we just want to say thank you very much for all the support. It really means a lot to us. So.
Yeah,
it's blessed having you guys.
We should be the ones thanking you guys.
Yeah, no kidding.
Creating it.
I mean, like I said, it's
but if it wasn't for you guys and people buying the game and the support, we wouldn't be here. We would be sitting at a table and not signing anything.
Hey, you guys created something that's not going to go away anytime soon, and it's phenomenal. It's out there, and I really appreciate you guys stopping by and talking to us. It's been amazing.
Yeah, and also thanks to the people who got a chance to come in and help, make the franchise still live on.
Oh yeah.
Like with Johnny Cage, Lyndon Ashby did the $500 sunglasses. That's a freaking awesome contribution to Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
So everybody who comes along contributes a little bit to me.
It just grows and grows, and like I said, it doesn't seem like it's slow down anytime soon, folks.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. Cool stuff to watch.